Hello gamers, welcome to my channel. My name is ProEvolutions, and today I'm going to be talking about my engineer loadout for Battlefield 4. So basically, before we start, I'm just going to quickly tell you a little message before I actually get into the details of my loadout, which is basically, I'm aware that my last video I said a load of and ers, which is a phrase I tend to say when I kind of, try and buy time because I don't really know the phrase I'm going to say, the wording I'm going to say next. But I'm going to try and limit that because I haven't really been commentating for a while, so I'm trying to get into the use of it again. So I'm going to try and limit down the amount of ums and ers I say in my video, or just loads of, kind of stuttering to buy time. So basically, let's get straight off into this. Oh yeah, sorry, before we get straight off into this, the reason I haven't been commentating or doing videos frequently is because I've been revising for my GCSEs. And basically, let's just get straight off into this. So, my primary weapon I tend to use for my engineer class is the PDWs over any of these. The main weapon I use in the PDWs is the CBJ-MS. The second one I probably use is the AS-Val, then the MP7. They got good stability, well, not good. They got a good rate of fire, for kind of weapons that. And then this one's got a good overall distance. Occasionally vary between these two weapons here, because this one's got better range. But then, again, this has a suppressor on it. For the optics of this, I don't really use anything because I haven't really unlocked it. I would prefer the hollow sight over any of these, but I haven't unlocked it. For the accessory, I tend to use the laser sight. I would use the green laser sight if I unlocked it, but then again, I haven't. It's good for hip firing as well, which is why I use it, because this weapon's this hasn't got the best of their abilities, so you'd be close. And this was also a close quarters weapon, so you kind of spray out people in close quarters, well, hip fire. Even though it hasn't got the best fire rate, there's the stats on it if you haven't seen them already. But the barrel, I tend to use a suppressor on it. Don't really use any other of them. Sometimes the compensator, but I don't really mind what suppressor I use. But this is the only one I've unlocked that looks the best compared to this one. And then for the paint, I tend to use the flat camo because the MISC one is the default one, the default one, is kind of a green tint to it, which I do not like at all, so I tend to change it to snow. And for my secondary weapon in the engineer loadout, I tend to use a variation of weapons, but I prefer the compact 45 with this class because it's kind of a mid-range sort of pistol I use, and it's very nice compared to the rest of them that I use for this loadout. I would sometimes use the M1911, but it's got less ammo, so I don't really use it. Plus, it's only the accuracy and stability that is varied to this, and it's got less ammo. So I stick to the compact 45. For the optic, I tend to use the iron sight over anything, and same goes for my pistols actually. But I don't use any optics for pistols, except from, secondaries at all, except from the 44 Magnum and the Mare's Leg. And then for the accessory, I use the green laser sight. I prefer it over the red laser sight because red is more common. Is more common for most people, and I'd kind of like to be a bit different. Plus, green is a color which appeals to me more than red, even though my logo has has all four of my favorite colors. Yeah. And then for the barrel, I tend to use a suppressor. This suppressor is the only one I've unlocked that looks better. This one doesn't really look as nice on it. It's a bit thick and it's just not very nice. And then for the paint, I tend to use the default one because the default paint on this weapon is very shiny and very nice. It's got a very good paint on it. Black paint is quite nice. And then for the gadget one, I use the RPG because it's got higher damage than this one. It's not as fast, but it's high damage and it's very good against vehicles, which you'll tend to go against when you're using when you're using the engineer class. Also, it's very good at destroying barricades or anything that I need to destroy. For example, on Siege of Shanghai with the car room, blow up the kind of the grates or whatever you call them, the hangars, or I don't exactly know what you call them, but you kind of know what I'm on about, where you just blow them up and then you enter the building and you get into the car showroom basically. And then for Gadget 2 I use the repair tool, but then sometimes I vary between the repair tool and the slams depending on what map I'm playing or what game mode I'm playing. If I'm playing, for example, Squad Deathmatch, I use a DS3, but then again, I don't really use the engineer at all, or the engineer. Well, I don't use the engineer class at all when it comes to squad deathmatch and team deathmatch, even though the PDWs are good at close quarters. But I don't use the engineer. And the engineer is my least played class in all the loadouts you can choose from. It's not a class, sorry, it's a loadout. It's my least favourite loadout compared to all the other loadouts, as you can see here. And then for the grenades, I tend to use the M67 frag, but sometimes I vary between the M67 frag, the flashbangs, and the RGO impacts, and sometimes the incendiaries. Then for the knife, I use the C100 because it's a reference to Battlefield Friends, plus it's just a very nice looking knife. Then for the field upgrade, I use offensive if I'm playing my own because it increases the ammo. And then if I'm playing with friends, I use anti-tank because, as you can see the stats there, it's good for taking out tanks, quite literally. Or I play as mechanic if I'm in a chopper and I'm repairing for a friend whilst he gives me kind of a transportation to a certain objective, for example on Conquest. But I tend to use anti-tank more than mechanic. And then on to the camouflage for the kind of outfit here for the soldier. I tend to use default, and I use default for all of them, actually, if you look down the bottom. And then for the paint for the camouflage for the parachute, sorry, I use the DP-M6. It's one of my favourite, although I do like the quick response one. So let's get straight into the test range to try out the weapon. So I think I chose the wrong... Oh no. Oh, I chose the wrong... Is it offensive? Yeah, it should have an increase of ammo. Okay, it's not really an increase of ammo. Okay, whatever. Oh yeah, because I haven't got the field upgrade, of course. So, close quarters, it's very good and very accurate. But if you didn't know, actually, you can see the distances if you zoom on. So it's 12 meters there. And also, if you didn't know, at distances, you know, the accuracy goes down, plus the damage decreases over ranges. So, for example, if the damage resist was 22, you know, over a distance it might decrease to 18. What range that varies to, it depends. You're gonna have to look up the stats. I'm not very good with researching this kind of stuff. Something on YouTube in a while. I'm not very into looking up stats like that. So as you can see, it's quite distant, quite good until it gets up to the 90 kind of ranging. So it's very good in terms of mid-range kind of combat for firing it. The stability is not bad actually, even though it's well, the stability is very bad actually for a PDW. Well, not for a PDW, but it's not that good compared to other weaponry such as the L85A2 or just assault rifles in general, or any other sort of automatic weapons. It's not quite that accurate, but although it's not bad though. So I'm just going to quickly refill my ammo here very quickly, because I haven't really got enough ammo to take on these the moving targets, the furthest moving targets and the fastest moving targets. So as you can see, I'm not very good at... It's not very good at 100. Is that 100? No, it's like 90. Yeah, it's 95. Not very good at that. The amount of ammo I'm shooting in is not like it's too much. Although, depending on what level I'm shooting against, they would tend to respond either by shooting back, so they're not as moving. They're probably moving at the pace at these people here, so they're just moving sideways like this. So that's what I tend to go up against. So as I've got them all now, I'm going to go on to the secondary weapon here, the pistol. So let's try that out at 12 meters. There we go. That's what it is. 12 meters, 2-shot headshot, 3-shot headshot. 6-shot, probably because some of them weren't headshots, they were chest height. Now it's hard to get headshots to about 50 meters. I'd say this weapon's good up to about that kind of target there, about 45 meters. 50's kind of pushing it, 60 just going on literally the verge. So this is 76 meters here, and as you can see, I'm doing absolutely horrendous at this. I just can't hit the target. It's not very accurate either. It's not very good for range. It's not. I don't think the pistol is actually meant to shoot up to that kind of ranges, which is quite obvious. So I'm just refilling it. It hasn't got the most ammo in the world. I think the M1911 has less ammo than that. I think it has like 32 total, plus the one, well, not including the one in the magazine. So as you can see, this is about 90, 91. You have to aim quite high on this target here. So I am using a suppressor, so I'm kind of simulating what it would be like for me, not what it would be like if you were to use this weapon for you. I'm just showing you what it's like for me to use it. So I use it as with a suppressor because I don't really play Conquest that much. My favourite game mode is either Rush, Squad Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, or Domination, which are quite close quarters maps. I'm just going to attempt going the slow one because I'm not very accurate, if you couldn't tell, with moving targets. Plus, it's just not good at this kind of range. Oh, one second. I'm just going to quickly reload the magazine and then go to the suggested range. And sorry if it's not actually called magazine. I'm not entirely sure with this kind of stuff. I'm sorry that was a Facebook message. So I'm going to about 40. What I said, I'd probably suggest it, and I still do bad. Wow. So this is the range I suggested. If you're actually interested, who messaged me on Facebook, it's actually Johan. You may or may not know him. If you don't, then shame on you. I'm joking. Sorry, I'm just sick of not getting the target. So there we go, guys. This is my engineer loadout for Battlefield 4. This is my preferred loadout, so this is my most common weapons I use. Although this does vary over time, but this is my favourite loadout for the engineer class at the time of this recording. And hopefully you've enjoyed this, and I'm looking, you can give me suggestions if you'd like to, but I will be uploading next my support class, then recon class. I've currently already done my assault class, so if you haven't already seen me using this assault weapon, assault loadout, sorry, then check it out. I think it's a bit varied to the other ones. I'm using M1911. I'm not too sure if I used that or not. But hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, or for more content from me or others, depending what channel you're watching this on. And don't forget to subscribe, like I said. Wow, I'm just repeating myself now. This just shows how long I haven't commentated for.